What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So plans have changed a little bit. I was going to get a mobile panel beater in to paint the Supra spoiler and also the front grille on my new car when it eventually comes in. So that's why the spoiler's just been sitting here waiting. And I got impatient and I started hitting up some mobile panel beaters over here in Melbourne. None of them get back to you. You send them emails, like a lot of them are like send emails, send photos, blah, 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 blah. Done that a number of times, no one gets back to you. Called the companies, no one answers the phone. Called other ones, they answer the phone. Long story short, I'm doing it myself. So I've watched a few YouTube channels that show you how to prep and paint fiberglass. Now the car is eventually, like I've said a few times, it's eventually going to get full respray in a different color and so on. So this is just to kind of match it as best I can. And seeing as though the wing is a very different angle to the other panels, if the color's off slightly, you're not even gonna notice. Super Cheap Auto, they actually will mix up a color code match to your car in a Rattle pack. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. Let's make a video, make some content and have a bit of fun. So what I'm gonna do, if you've seen the Supra install video, you know there's a few things I'm not happy with, and I'll show you them in a second, and then I'll explain how I'm gonna fix it. So let's jump into it. So one thing I'm not super happy with is the end caps that go on here. Now I'll show you what I mean. Sorry for the bad camera work for a second. Now that's it lined up there. So it lines up really well, but the holes kind of don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bore those holes out just a little bit, because this piece is going to be black, so you're not even going to notice. And then I will just use a slightly, I don't even think I need to get a slightly bigger bit of hardware, because it actually covers the holes. And I'll do the same on the other side so that they match. So what I will do now is next few steps, pull it all apart, find any chips or whatever, and I will just do a little bit of filler on those, and then sand them back, sand the whole thing kind of ready for primer. Then it will be primer, guide coat, sand it back again, then color and clear, and we'll go from there. Okay, so before I prep all that, I'm just gonna grind out these holes just a little smidge. And I got this super convenient little Dremel tool from eBay. I don't know, it was like 30 bucks, and it came with so much stuff, and it's actually gonna be exactly what I need for this job. So, dude, get one. So good. Little fiddly, dies kind of quickish, but oh, amazing. So now it sits much nicer in its little housing. I had to move that back a little bit. And this one, so there was a better gap in front of that bolt. And over here, still more of a gap in front of the bolt from the edge to there, but to be honest, you're not really gonna notice it that much. But it does fit quite a bit better than it did before. Yeah, it's perfect at the top. And the bottom, I mean, the bottom sticks out a smidge. But again, I'll get that perfected when the car gets painted. So yeah, let's get on to sanding and prepping. Okay guys, so I just spent the last couple of hours prepping the spoiler, just sanding it back. As you can see, I'm covered in gel coat and fiberglass. It's mainly gel coat, to be fair. There were a lot of little baby imperfections in the gel coat, so I just wanted to try and get as best prep as I possibly could, because as you probably all know, all the end result is really in the prep. The painting's just painting, but if you go to crappy prep, then yeah, it's all gonna look crappy. So I got it as best I could, and I dried it all off and everything, because I was wet sanding it. And in the morning when the sun's up and there's a bit warm, because I don't want to paint anything while the weather's a little bit dewy, then I will, give it a couple of coats of primer, and then when that's all ready, get some color on it. So I will see you guys in the morning. All right guys, sorry about the echo. I'm just in the garage at the moment, and I've set up this little area. I'll show you what I've got. So I've got the blade there, end caps, and the uprights. Now, everything's been sanded and prepped, and I've also wax and grease removed all of that and all of that. Now I'm just gonna go through, prime everything, and then put some black color on those, and put some color on those if the primer's dry in time. So I'll chuck you guys down, and you can watch me do it. All right guys, so went through and did the primer, the fiberglass primer, which you guys would have seen. And I'll show you kind of what it looks like now. What's actually happened, it was a clear primer, and I didn't really like it. So I did a bunch of coats, let it dry, and it was kind of finishing with a weird texture. But now, it's finished with, okay, so now I went over with an etching primer. Once the clear primer had dried, I just did a couple of kind of light coats. As you can see, it's not fully coated. Some bits are a little bit darker than others, but it's fine because obviously it's got 3 or 4 layers of the clear primer already on it. And then when that dried, I put this over the top. A couple of reasons. 1, to make sure I've got good coverage. And 2, because I was like, honestly, I was weirded out. Because I'm like, what? Clear primer, what is this? So yeah, put a bit of this on, and yeah, it had a weird texture to it. Not like a greasy surface reaction texture at all, but I don't know, just like a real mild kind of snake skin texture. But doing this kind of light feather coat of etching primer has sorted that out. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm going to hang a sheet here, because that's gonna be the car color, the 199 silver, and all this stuff's gonna be black, so I don't wanna contaminate too much. So I'm gonna put a sheet there just to kind of help with that. Oh, side note, I also organized the garage a bit. So for all you people that have OCD and hated how it looked, you're welcome, it's fixed. Okay, so I don't know what's going on here, but the uprights are cracking. Have a look. It's happening all over. Like this, it looks like I've coated it, but I haven't. Like it's quite light. And even on the other side, have a look at this. Stop it there. I can see it. No, you can't see it, but here it's also slightly cracking, and that's already dry. Like it's seconds and it's dry and it's already cracking. So I don't know what's going on. But the blade is going really well. Blade's killing it. Blade's looking schmick. Just a light coat, cool. Okay, so I gave Luke, the painting guru, a call, and he told me what the issue is this fiberglass primer that I'm using. It's got a certain chemical in it that takes ages to set. So I've been really lucky that the parts that I'm painting black aren't cracking at all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pause it all right here, let the black parts completely dry how they are. Like they're not cracking, so that's great because that's an enamel. Sorry, that's an acrylic, and I think the other is an enamel possibly, and that's why it's reacting to the not completely cured primer. So I'm gonna put it all aside for a few days, let it completely cure and dry. I'm gonna take the uprights, I'm gonna wet sand them all the way back and start again. Okay, so we're back. After, as you saw in the last clip, all that stuffed up, gross silver, I came through, I went over it with a 180 grit sandpaper and then a 240 grit and got everything off, came back to the gel coat and then hung it up. Oh, sorry, and then I did a 800 grit wet and dry, wiped it all off, wax and grease, removed it, hung it up and then re-primed all of it. So now, it's actually, it would be touch dry. I haven't touched it, but I know it is touch dry. But what I'll do now is leave this here. I've got the end caps half painted. They've got a couple of coats on them. And then the blade itself has a couple of coats, but I'm leaving all of it because this primer down here, apparently, this one here, apparently takes like 2 to 3 days to properly cure. So I'm gonna leave that for 2 or 3 days, let them really set properly so I don't get this chemical reaction again. And then on Sunday, I'll come through and I'll give it all the paint, put all the color. So chuck this color on these and chuck this color, the black, on the blade, up there and this. But I just want you all to look at this ingenious little thing I did. So I've set up this little jig that goes into the bolt holes, either side, right? And it's bolted to a piece of wood. So all I have to do is loosen up the bolt on the edge and I can turn the blade like that and like that to get to all the angles without actually touching the blade. I reckon that's pretty cool. Just a little idea I came up with. Little DIY at-home job. If you all want to copy it, do it. If you want to name it after me, you can, but it's probably been done a million times before and it's probably some professional jig that someone has in a workshop, but yeah, there you go. Okay guys, so it's been 3 days since we did the primer. It said do 2 to 3 days of drying. I left it 3 because being impatient stuffed up the uprights last time, so let's not be impatient and let's wait the full 3 days. So today's a really hot day, which is good. It'd be nice for the paint to dry. So we're gonna do some color and I'll show you the situation we're in and then I'll chuck you up on the shelf. Okay, so these are all primed up. I didn't go with the gray primer over the top. I just did the fiberglass primer. So it looks like I haven't primed it at all, but I have. So that's the state of that. And the blade, I stopped. I did 2 feather coats and then I stopped because I didn't want this to crack at all, and it hasn't, it's perfect. So I don't know why this didn't react, but the other one did, but oh well, the situation is what it was. Okay, so again, it has started to react weird. Tiny little bit, the surface is still pretty much flat. So I called Super Cheap and I asked them what's to go. They said, that's so weird. I spoke to my mate Luke, who's a painter, and he was like, none of that makes sense because the stuff that I'm painting black in acrylic is working perfectly. The stuff I'm painting silver in acrylic isn't working, it's reacting. Same primer, same material under the primer, lighter coats on the silver. I thought maybe I'm doing it too heavy. So I went into Super Cheap, they were like, bring in the can, we'll give you a fresh can of 199 color code and see how you go. So I'm back, it's been like an hour and a half since this has had its first little like feather coat. I'll show you. So I'm talking feather coat, and up here got a little bit heavier. Now, like that's not as dark as you think, it's just because, see? Because the garage door is behind me, so that's making it look darker. But I'm talking like the lightest of light coats. And it's having a slight reaction. So the guy was like, maybe it's the paint. So we've got a new paint, let's see how we go. Okay, so it's a few hours later, guys. I ended up going back down to Super Cheap Auto and they swapped out the can for me, the spray can of 199. Huge thanks to Luke for the information you gave me today. It really helped me out, and the other day when I called you. And also huge thanks to, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, but the dude at Super Cheap that helped me today, absolute champ, really helped me out. So he gave me a new can of 199 and I've been painting it and it's coming up great. And I actually went back in because I had to get another can because the gel coat is white, but the seams of the fiberglass is darker, so you can still kind of see it through the paint just because it's not all one color. I think the company that makes that fiberglass primer, don't make it clear, make it white at least, because then everything's the same color, because yeah, now I'm running into this issue, which is fine, I'll be able to deal with it. But yeah, so hey, whoever the company is, help me out. So I'll show you what it looks like now. So as you can see, it's come up way better. All that issue is kind of gone away. You can see there's a bit of a texture to it, but I don't really mind that. That's not killing me, because when I put the clear on, I will, like once the clear's on and hardened for a while, I'll cut it back with some wet and dry. But you see what I mean? Like this edge here, and you can still see, it's hard to point out. Oh, okay, up here. See that kind of line? There you go, that line. Because it's darker, it's the same all the way down the middle. And this one is way better. Sorry for the focus, but it's way better. It's coming out. Just the more coats and it kind of gets rid of it. So I've got a few more coats to go and then we should be done. All right, so all the color is done. I am absolutely blown away at how this turned out, especially from how the silver started. I'm doing the clear right now. I don't really want to show you guys. I kind of want to just show you the finished product. And then you can see like how it's turned out completely. Okay guys, so what are we, like day 5 now, day 10, day 50, I don't know. This feels like it's really dragged on for me. For you guys, it'd be like a 15-minute video. But we got there. The color went down good, the black went down good, the clear went down good, and then I hung it up in my spare room because I didn't want it in my garage to get dust and stuff. And I left it there for like 3 days to cure, just because I did so many light coats to make sure there was no running. I knew it'd be quite thick, so I left it there for, it said leave it for 4 hours or overnight, but I left it for like 3 days. So it's all just behind me and I'll show you what it looks like and then we'll chuck it on the car. So here it is. So as you can see, the silver came out really good. Now the clear, as you can probably see, it's got like an orange peel effect on it, which is expected because it was done from Rattle cans, but there's so much clear on these pieces that I can easily wet and dry it and then polish it, but I'm not gonna do that for a couple of months. I want it to really properly harden before I start trying to attack it with something hard. And the other thing I did off camera was just put some weather sealing underneath it, because as you can see, got big holes here. You guys know from the previous video, there's a bit of a gap here, just because of fitment, which is fine. It's only like, I don't know, 4 mil, 3 mil, something like that. But I'd rather do a little bit of weather seal and have it look schmick. Just something I am doing, I'm putting some nylon washers just on the inside just to help weatherproof it as well. So we're gonna have the weather seal, we're gonna have nylon washers, and also just previously I put some primer on the inside of these holes. I know they're factory holes, but if you saw the install video, I bored them out a little bit, so some of them were just scratched down to bare metal, so I thought I'll put some primer in just so we don't get any rust. There it is, it's done. I'm really happy how it turned out, especially the color match. The black, it's black, like whatever. So I've done the black so it matches my front bumper. If you've seen the other videos, you can see I've got a black section on the front bumper and the little kind of the little like step out on the front bumper is gloss black as well. and on the side skirts and the rear pods, they're gonna have the same kind of theme when I put the new ones on. So the black end caps and the black center blade really match that kind of theme, which is good. And this color match, I'll bring you closer, but I'm blown away. Like for a Rattle pack job, that's so good. Like, come and have a look. I mean, what more could you want from a Rattle pack? Look, it's not perfect. If you get real close, there's like imperfections, a little bit maybe. Like, oh, there you go, there you can see the texture. So that's just a wet and dry and a sandbag. I'll be able to fix that. But like I said, because I want to get it to kind of similar. I mean, it's pretty similar. The paint on this isn't amazing. But I'm stoked with that. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope the experience was as interesting for you as it was for me. There we go. That's how you need to get the front bumper in so you can really appreciate it all. Yeah, I'm all about that. I am all about that. Yep, I'm keen. I am keen. I'm so glad that that's turned out that good. Oh. So thanks heaps for coming along on that little journey with me, guys. It was really interesting to see all the different kind of aspects of this. The paint going wrong, the primer being clear, all kind of different things that I haven't dealt with before. But I really hope that you can take something away from this. Hopefully it helps someone that maybe wants to do a little DIY job, something like that. So yeah, please like, please subscribe, maybe share it around with your friends. We're getting so close to 100 subscribers, and I know it only seems small, but that is awesome for me. Apart from that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.